Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiv Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudire Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. So continuing with our discussion on Bhagavad Gita, chapter 8, Attaining the Supreme, text 23 onwards. So Krishna is talking about, because this was Arjuna's question, how to leave the body. And now Krishna is talking about what happens to different yogis when they leave the body. Text 23. Yatra kale tvanavrittim avrittim chav yogina prayata yanti tam kalam vakshyami bharat rishabh. O best of Bharats, I shall now explain to you the different times at which, passing away from this world, the yogi does or does not come back. So there are different times for the yogis to leave the body. The unalloyed devotees of the Supreme Lord, who are totally surrendered souls, do not care when they leave their bodies or by what method. They leave everything in Krishna's hands and so easily and happily return to Godhead. But those who are not unalloyed devotees and who depend instead on such methods of spiritual realization as Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga and Hatha Yoga must leave the body at a suitable time and thereby be assured whether or not they will return to the world of birth and death. If the yogi is perfect, he can select the time and situation for leaving this material world. But if he is not so expert, his success depends on his accidentally passing away at a certain suitable time. The suitable times at which one passes away and does not come back explained by the Lord in the next verse. According to Acharya Baldev Vidyabhushan, the Sanskrit word Kal used herein refers to the presiding deity of time. So for the yogis, if he is very expert, he can select his time and situation for leaving the material world. And the example is always given of Bhishmadev. Like Bhishmadev was on the bed of arrows, but he waited for Uttarayan, waited for when the sun comes into northern hemisphere. And that is on the day of Makar Sankranti, he left his body. Of course, Uttarayan also means one who lives inside Uttara. Uttara is mother of Parikshit Maharaj. And Krishna had gone inside the womb of Uttara to save Parikshit Maharaj from the Brahmastra of Ashwatthama. So it can also be said that Bhishma Pitama was waiting for Uttarayan, means Krishna to come. So when Krishna came with Yudhishthira Maharaj, over there Bhishma Dev gave the instructions to Yudhishthira Maharaj and then he left his body looking at the lotus face of Krishna. But at the same time, like from the verses that we will read now, it is said when the sun is in Uttarayan, that is the time to leave the body. For the yogis, not for devotees. Prabhupada made it clear. The unalloyed devotees who are totally surrendered do not care when they leave their bodies or by what method, because they're completely dependent upon Krishna. Text 24. Agnir Jyotir aha shucha shanmasa uttarayanam tatra prayata gachanti brahma brahma vido janaha. Those who know the Supreme Brahman attain that Supreme by passing away from the world during the influence of the fiery god, in the light at an auspicious moment of the day, during the fortnight of the waxing moon, or during the 6 months when the sun travels in the north. So different times are given. Especially means during the time of day or time of light. Sorry. When fire, light, day and the fortnight of the moon are mentioned, it is to be understood that over all of them there are various presiding deities who make arrangements for the passage of the soul. At the time of death, the mind carries one on the path to a new life. If one leaves the body at the time designated above, either accidentally or by arrangement, it is possible for him to attain the impersonal Brahm Jyoti. But this we are talking about for the yogis, not just for any person. For any person, Krishna has already said, Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tyajati ante kalevaram tam tam evati kuntya sadatat bhav bhavita. In whatever state of being one leaves the body, he attains that kind of body, that state without fail. This is for the yogis. Mystics who are advanced in yoga practice can arrange the time and place to leave the body. Others have no control. If by accident leave at an auspicious moment, then they will not return to the cycle of birth and death. But otherwise, there is every day that they will have to return. Text 25. Dhumora chandram samjyotir yogi prapanivartate. The mystic who passes away from this world during the smoke, the night, the mystic who passes away from this world during the smoke, the night, the fortnight of the waning moon, or the 6 months when the sun passes to the south, reaches the moon planet, but again comes back. In the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, Kapil Muni mentions that those who are expert in fruitive activities and sacrificial methods on earth attain to moon at death. These elevated souls live on the moon for about 10,000 years by demigod calculations and enjoy life by drinking somarasa. They eventually return to earth. This means that on the moon there are higher classes of living beings, though they may not be perceived by the gross senses. So on the other hand, the mystic or the yogis who pass away during smoke, the night, the fortnight of the waning moon, or the 6 months when the sun passes to the south, reaches the moon planet, but again comes back. But so on moon planet, moon is a heavenly planet, and so they enjoy there for about 10,000 years by our calculations and enjoy life by drinking somarasa, but they eventually return back to earth. So indirectly, Prabhupada is saying there is, on the moon, there are higher classes of living beings. So he was very critical of the American space people who said they went to moon and they didn't find anything over there. So in fact, Prabhupada was in America at that time when this moon landing whole expedition was going on, and they were showing it on TV, and Prabhupada was sitting with his disciples when they're showing this moon landing on TV, and he said they didn't go to moon. And in fact, many of his followers, they left. They thought Prabhupada was envious of the progress of America. So Prabhupada was saying on the basis of Bhagavatam. 2 reasons he put forward. One is this one, he said moon is a heavenly planet and there are living beings, there are very big buildings, there are so many other arrangements out there. How come these scientists who went there and they say they didn't see anything? It's not possible. They said they only saw some desert, there is nothing growing. And he said the moonlight is the source of juice in the fruits and vegetables on earth. And if moonlight is a source of juice, on earth in the vegetables and fruits, how come on moon there is no crop? There are no crops. How is it possible? And second point he made was on the basis of Bhagavatam. He says, according to Bhagavatam, moon is, I don't know, some 93 million miles away from Earth. So it is not possible for them to go to moon. Maybe first he said they didn't go anywhere. Second, he said, even if they went, they probably went to the planet which comes between moon and Earth. That is Rahu or Ketu planet, whichever is nearby at that time. Probably they went there. He said they did not go to moon. And this now, I mean, few years back, I mean, even at that time, there were so many scientists, they proved that we never landed on moon because of so many flag was flapping and the direction of the light and the shadow. So many calculations went on, and they said this is a hoax. And actually, the internet is full of these hoax stories of moon landing. They never believed we went to moon. But the people who go to moon by yoga, because the going to moon, going to a heavenly planet, it's only possible by doing either sacrifice or yoga. Then we can go. One can get eligible to go to moon. But even from moon, one has to come back. Because it's not a spiritual planet, it's still material planet. Text 26. Shucha Krishne gatihiye te jagata shashvate mate ekya yatya navritim anyaya vartate punaha. According to Vedic opinion, there are two ways of passing from this world, one in light and one in darkness. When one passes in light, he does not come back, but when one passes in darkness, he returns. The same description of departure and return is quoted by Acharya Baldevidya from the Chandogya Upanishad. Those who have fruitive labors and philosophical speculators from time immemorial are constantly going and coming. Actually, they do not attain ultimate salvation, for they do not surrender to Krishna. And there is another meaning of going in light and darkness, means one who is enlightened, one who has knowledge, and one who is in ignorance. So who is in knowledge? And knowledge of Krishna, knowledge of our own self, knowledge of our relationship with Krishna, he does not come back. And who does not have this knowledge, he is actually in darkness and he has to come back. Text 27. Nate sriti partha jananya yogi muyati kaschana tasmat sarveshu kaleshu yogi yukto bhavarjuna. Although the devotee know these two paths, O Arjun, they are never bewildered. Therefore, be always fixed in devotion. Krishna is there advising Arjun that he should not, the Supreme Lord should not. The devotee should be firmly established in Krishna consciousness and chant Hare. He should know that what is troublesome. Involved in Krishna consciousness is to be always dovetailed in his service, and this will make one's path to the spiritual kingdom safe, certain, and direct. The word Yoga Yukta is especially significant in this verse. One who is firm in yoga is constantly engaged in Krishna consciousness in all his activities. Sri Rupa Goswami advises, Anasakya Vishyan Yatharham Upayunta. One should be unattached in material affairs and do everything in Krishna consciousness. By this system, which is called Yukta Vairagya, one attains perfection. Therefore, the devotee is not disturbed by these descriptions because he knows that his passage to the supreme abode is guaranteed by devotional service. So for devotees, it doesn't matter whether it's light or darkness, daytime, nighttime, sun is in northern hemisphere, southern hemisphere, it doesn't matter. Because once I think I mentioned this. Once devotees asked Prabhupada that Krishna says uh, that one who thinks of me at the time of death, he comes back to me. Then they asked Prabhupada that, Prabhupada, what if we engage throughout our life in the service of Krishna? Day and night we are serving Krishna. But for some reason, whatever, if at the time of death we cannot think of Krishna, then what will happen? And Prabhupada replied that if you are engaged completely in the service of Krishna throughout your life, and for some reason you cannot think of Krishna at the time of death, then Krishna will think of you at the time of death and take you with him. Because Krishna is a person. He's a grateful, kind, compassionate, loving, merciful person. So somebody has devoted his life in his service, in Krishna's service. How can Krishna forget that person? That's why Krishna says, Konteya pratijanihi name bhakta pranashyati. My devotee never perishes. The Krishna is there to take care of him. And more than Krishna, this is the experience of devotees. More than Krishna, they have faith in Srila Prabhupada. Because Prabhupada's disciples, it has happened, one disciple was leaving the body. Although he was not a very highly elevated, situated devotee, means he didn't do too much of service, just little service. But when he was leaving the body and somehow arrangements was made that the other devotees were there, they kirtan for him. And when he left the body, he all of a sudden, when he was leaving, all of a sudden he opened his eyes and raised his hand. Oh, Prabhupada, you have come. He said that, and then he left his body. Means Prabhupada had come to take him away, to take him back. That is the beauty of bhakti process, bhakti yoga. In all of the processes, the yogi has to rely on his own capabilities, on his own strengths. But in bhakti yoga, the yogi, the devotee, he is completely dependent upon the mercy. Of course, mercy, in this also there are two paths actually, two philosophies, we can say. Like Prabhupada, as one's devotees, is a guru like a monkey or like a cat? Now, what's the qualities of a monkey or a cat? If you see monkey, especially the mother monkey, the baby monkey clings on to her body, and she jumps from one roof to another, and the baby monkey is clinging on. He doesn't fall down, and the mother monkey is jumping around, and she's carrying the baby monkey. But cat, mother cat, she carries the kitten in her mouth. She just picks up the kitten from his neck, and she carries the kitten in her mouth, and then she goes from one place to another. Means, does a devotee or a disciple holds on to spiritual master, or the spiritual master just carries the disciple with him wherever he goes? So again, there are two philosophies, even in bhakti yoga also, bhakti movement also. But the real compassionate and real mercy of Guru is he carries the disciple with him. Only thing the disciple does is like a kitten, he should just stay in the mouth of spiritual master instead of just running away here and there. That's all he can do. Because a disciple who thinks, I have no strength even to cling on to Guru. Of course, our strength of clinging on to Guru is our desire or our effort to follow the instructions of Guru, to follow the instructions Srila Prabhupada has given, like chant 16 rounds, minimum 16 rounds every day, follow the four regulative principles, whatever instructions we got. So this is our effort. Even that we cannot do properly. Even that we try to do it sincerely. The desire is like chanting of 16 rounds. I mean, it's so hard to chant attentively. But still we are struggling, we're trying to do. And other services. So this is the safety feature in Bhakti Yoga process. That the mercy part is there. And then actually the another example that Prabhupada has given, that if some person is fallen in a well and he cannot get out on his own, but if there's another person from the top of the well, he throws a rope and he holds on to one end of the rope, and as the other person has fallen down in the well, to hold on to the rope, and the person on the top will pull him out. So that's also one of the qualities of Guru. He has thrown the rope of his instructions. All we have to do is just hang on to those instructions. And then sooner or later, we'll be taken out of this material world. In fact, one of Prabhupada's disciples, because Prabhupada had initiated many disciples, about 10,000 disciples, and at that time the movement was very actively preaching was going on all over the world. Centers were being opened, and those disciples, they hardly had any experience of bhakti, following the principles, or association of Srila Prabhupada. Not everybody got the association. So Prabhupada had sent one devotee to one country. In fact, Prabhupada would send devotees to countries, different countries, not even different cities. Or in the same city, go to this mohalla and this locality and open the temple. He would just send them to different countries. So Prabhupada had sent one of his disciples to a country to open up that country, means to start preaching over there. So he took sannyas also, that disciple, and he started preaching there, and he preached there for a while, for quite few years. But somehow, for some reason or other, he fell down. In fact, from sannyas, he fell down, and in fact, he became gay. And he came back to America from that country. And he was not in ISKCON anymore. So many years later, devotees in Los Angeles temple, they got a call from somebody, and this person said, well, one of your devotees is living in this apartment. Go and pick him up. So the devotees from the temple went there, and they saw that who was ex-Maharaj. He was there in that apartment, and he was very sick. So the devotees, obviously, they respect the services that Maharaj had done. They brought him back to the temple. In fact, that Maharaj, because he had become gay, he had developed AIDS. And doctors told him, you have only 6 months to live. So he had developed AIDS. His body was completely like diseased and no strength left, nothing left in the body. But the devotees brought him back and they nursed him. They fed him prashadam. They chanted with him continuously. So 6 months, he had full association of devotees. And when he left his body at the end of, like 6 months later, he left his body, but he was still in the middle of the devotees. Devotees were chanting for him, and he had been eating prashadam. So means, and everybody was saying Prabhupada brought him back to his service. Because Prabhupada never forgotten the service this devotee had done. Although afterwards he got on a different path, which was not right. But still, Prabhupada brought him back. He made the arrangement. So anybody might forget. Even Krishna might get busy with so many devotees he has to look after. But Prabhupada will never forget. That faith we have to have. And if Prabhupada was a pure devotee of Krishna, if he recommends a person to Krishna, Krishna will never say no to that devotee. So that faith we have to have in Srila Prabhupada. Text 28. Vedeshu yaggeshu tapasu chaiva daneshu yat punya phalam pradishtam atiyeti tat sarvam idam viditva yogi param sthanu pati chadhyam. A person who accepts the path of devotional service is not bereft of the results derived from studying the Vedas, performing sacrifices, undergoing austerities, giving charity, or pursuing philosophical and spiritual activities. Simply by performing devotional service, he attains all these, and at the end, he reaches the supreme eternal abode. This verse is a summation of the 7th and 8th chapters, which particularly deal with Krishna consciousness and devotional service. One has to study the Vedas under the guidance of the spiritual master and undergo many austerities and penances while living under his care. A brahmachari has to live in the home of the spiritual master just like a servant, and he must beg alms from door to door and bring them to the spiritual master. He takes food only under the master's order. And if the master neglects to call the student for food that day, the student fasts. These are some of the basic principles for observing brahmacharya. After the student studies the Vedas under the master for some time, at least from age 5 to 20, he becomes a man of perfect character. Study of the Vedas is not meant for the recreation of armchair speculators, but for the formation of character. I mean, the study of Vedas is actually it's for transformation of the heart, formation of character. After this training, the brahmachari is allowed to enter into household life and marry. When he is a householder, he has to perform many sacrifices so that he may achieve further enlightenment. He must also give charity according to the country, time, and candidate, discriminating among charity in goodness, in passion, and in ignorance, as described in Bhagavad Gita. Then after retiring from household life, on accepting the order of Vanaprastha, he undergoes severe penances, living in forests, dressing with tree bark, not shaving, etc. By carrying out the orders of brahmacharya, householder life, vanaprastha, and family sannyas, one becomes elevated to the perfectional stage of life. Some are then elevated to the heavenly kingdoms, and when they become even more advanced, they are liberated in spiritual sky, either in impersonal Brahmjyoti or in the Vaikuntha planets or Krishna Loka. This is the path outlined by Vedic literature. Now, the beauty of Krishna consciousness, however, is that by one stroke, by engaging in devotion service, one can surpass all the rituals of the different orders of life. Means one does not have to go through either brahmacharya, grahast, vanaprastha, sannyas, or one can remain a grahast in a grahast ashram and still make so much of progress that he can become eligible to go back to Godhead. Because bhakti is completely independent of our varna, of our ashram, of race, color, caste, creed, anything. Bhakti is not dependent upon any of those factors in life. Bhakti is a relationship between soul and Krishna. And in fact, it's a loving title in Bhakti process. Even a kid can become a devotee, and even a 100-year-old person can become a devotee. There's no bar on any kind. The words idam viditva indicate that one should understand the instructions given by Shri Krishna in this chapter and the seventh chapter of Bhagavad Gita. One should try to understand these chapters not by scholarship or mental speculation, but by hearing them in association with devotees. Chapters 7 through 12 are the essence of Bhagavad Gita. The first six and the last six chapters are like coverings for the middle six chapters, which are especially protected by the Lord. If one is fortunate enough to understand Bhagavad Gita, especially these middle six chapters, in the association of devotees, then his life at once becomes glorified beyond all penances, sacrifices, charities, speculations, etc. For one can achieve all the results of these activities simply by Krishna consciousness. That's these middle six chapters, and even in the middle six chapters, it is at the 9th and 10th chapter, they cover the essence of Bhagavad Gita. One who has a little faith in Bhagavad Gita should learn Bhagavad Gita from a devotee, because in the beginning of the 4th chapter, it is stated clearly that Bhagavad Gita can be understood only by devotees. No one else can perfectly understand the purpose of the Bhagavad Gita. There in 4th chapter, Krishna says, "No, oh Arjuna, I am telling you, giving you this knowledge because you are my bhakta and sakha. Bhakto sima sakha chayeti." One should therefore learn Bhagavad Gita from a devotee of Krishna, not from mental speculators. This is a sign of faith. When one searches for a devotee and fortunately gets a devotee's association, one actually begins to study and understand Bhagavad Gita. By advancement in the association of the devotee, one is placed in devotion service, and this service dispels all one's misgivings about Krishna or God, and Krishna's activities, form, pastimes, name, and other features. After these misgivings have been perfectly cleared away, one becomes fixed in one's study. Then one relishes the study of Bhagavad Gita and attains a state of feeling always Krishna conscious. In the advanced stage, one falls completely in love with Krishna. So these are different stages of bhakti that Rupa Goswami has mentioned in his Nectar Devotion. Means goes from Ado Shraddha, then Sadhu Sangha, then Bhajan Kriya, then Anartha Nivritti. Means by having some faith, some curiosity, one comes in contact. See, when Prabhupada says, no, this is a sign of faith. When one searches for a devotee and fortunately gets a devotee's association, he actually begins to study and understand Gita. So that is Bhajan Kriya stage. By advancement in the association, one is placed in devotion service, means Anartha Nivritti. This service dispels all one's misgivings, Anartha Nivritti. After these misgivings have been perfectly cleared away, one becomes fixed. Then it comes to the stage of Nishtha. Then one relishes the study of Bhagavad Gita in Ruchi and attains a state of feeling always Krishna conscious. Always Krishna conscious means Ruchi and then Asakti. Then one relishes the study of Bhagavad Gita. Okay. In the advanced stage, one falls completely in love with Krishna. Means bhav and prema. This highest perfectional stage of life enables the devotee to be transferred to Krishna's abode in the spiritual sky, Golok Vrindavan. He becomes eternally happy. See, even it's very difficult, lots of philosophy, it's very boring. You tell us stories from Srimad Bhagavatam, they're more entertaining, they're more nectarian. After working a whole day in the office, who has the time and energy to listen to philosophy? But this is what Prabhupada is talking about, Bhagavad Gita. Even Bhagavad Gita is very high literature. Although it is considered ABC of spiritual life, but it's very high literature. And one should really relish Bhagavad Gita. And then one's life will be perfect. And Prabhupada did say, if one just reads Bhagavad Gita with faith and devotion, one can attain perfection of life. It's possible. So anyway, we'll stop here. So today we finished the 8th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. So tomorrow we'll start the 9th chapter. Any questions or comments?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji,
Hare.
wonderful. Prabhuji, one out of relevance question, but related to Bhagavad Gita. Prabhuji, what is the meaning of that shloka which says we need to do the karma and offer the fruits to Krishna, or don't think about the results? I mean, what is the main essence of that shloka?
That's a very famous verse, no? Karmanyevadikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. Ma karma phal heturbhur ma te sango vastva karmani. Means karmanye eva adhikaraste. You have a right to perform your duty. Ma phaleshu kadachana. You don't have a right on the result of the duties. Ma karma phal heturbhur. Ma means not. Do not think you're the result of your reactions either. And mate sango astva karma. Don't be attached to not doing your duty at the same time. Means do your duty, but it is Krishna who will give the results. It's up to Krishna when, how much, where, that he's going to decide. But at the same time, don't be attached to not doing the duty, because I'm not the cause of the result of my duties. That's not the reason for me not doing my duties. I mean, actually, this shloka, although it comes in second chapter, but actually it belongs to only devotees. Only devotees can work on basis of this shloka, because they already completely surrendered. So they do the duty, but the results are all up to Krishna. But whatever he wants to give, that's up to him. Is that okay?
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Thank you. Subbu Prabhu, you have your hand raised.
Yes, Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, I got an observation and two questions actually related to these verses.
Mm-hmm.
The observation is that I've heard, obviously we all know that Dakshinayanam time, most of our Indian festivals occur during Dakshinayana. All the
Especially
fasting.
during, Kartik is during Dakshinayana.
Yes, and yeah, and so many festival fasting and holy fires were done in Dakshinayana. And they say that because the gods are sleeping at that time, you need the help of God for, it's a night time for gods, isn't it? Dakshinayana. Half a day. So we need the help of gods. So that's why you got a lot of festivals and a lot of fasting and meditation. Also the fact that the sun rays are low. So the to get back the immunity and digestive power, you have all these fasting, meditation and worship. All the rituals happen this time.
Mm-hmm.
So in that sense, Dakshinayanam for us is even more important than Uttarayana in terms of festivals, in terms of fasting, in terms of religious rituals and activities.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't it? And coming to the death during Uttarayana and Dakshinayanam, is it to be taken literally or is it symbolically? Because when Krishna says those who die pursuing fruitive activities, albeit in a very doing in a right way, performing rituals, performing everything, but with a desire for benefits, they go via this route of Dakshinayanam, Dhumo Ratri, Krishna and Dakshinayanam. And those who pursue the path of liberation, they go via Agni Jyoti, Ahash, Shukla and Uttarayanam, isn't it? So is it to be taken literally? Because those who are saintly, they might also pass away in Dakshinayana time. Obviously, you can never. Had Bhishma didn't have the power to decide his death, he might have passed away in Dakshinayana, isn't it?
Well, here Krishna, from what I understood, first he is talking about the yogis. He's
Right.
not talking about normal people that not doing any yoga. So if they pass away during Uttarayan, it doesn't mean they will go back to God.
Right.
It's not going to happen. So this is for yogis only. And for yogis, so then the categories are there. Bhishma was expert, so he could hold till Uttarayan. Other yogis might not be that expert, so they haven't done their yoga still, so they have to come back. But at the same time, like you said, we have to take it figuratively. Figuratively, what I have understood between light and darkness is knowledge and not knowledge, or less
Right.
knowledge. So that could be true also, means one who has knowledge and one doesn't have knowledge. But at the same time, literally also we have to take it for the yogis.
And
it is important that they live during Uttarayana.
so it's not applicable to people like us, assuming we are at a low level.
Yeah, we are not that level of yogis.
Right. So, and also another thing is, they say Agni, so during sun, during day, during Shukla Paksha and Uttarayan. So is it a
Uttarayan.
combination of the four, or is it any one of those? So for example, one might die in Uttarayanam but at night time, or during Krishna Paksha also. So is it
That question I also had, because moon could be waxing, but it could be in Dakshina, and sun could be in southern hemisphere.
right?
So I don't know the details in that case.
So it could be the combination also, isn't it?
Could be combination.
Thanks, Prabhuji.
But since he says that for a devotee it doesn't matter, so we don't need to bother about it that much.
So devotees don't need these technicalities.
No, because he himself says, no, before that he said, Tasyam Sulbha Partha, I'm very easy to obtain. And later on he said, for a devotee it doesn't matter. They are dependent upon Krishna.
Okay.
Because like one of our, generally it is said for devotee, they should try to live in the dham, they should try to leave the body there. Because when they are in dham, then definitely they are going back. But one of our Maharajas, Bhakti Tirth Maharaj in ISKCON, he got very sick and he had so much of cancer and his legs were amputated. His cancer had basically eaten up the whole internal organs. And he had only 3 or 4 months to live. And he had every choice to go to Vrindavan or Mayapur and stay there. But he said, no, I will stay in America, because Prabhupada has said all his temples are like Vaikuntha. So he stayed in the West only, and he stayed among his disciples, and he left the body there with full faith in Prabhupada's words. So, so even his departure was very glorious. So for a devotee, they don't mind all this, because they are always in taking Krishna's name, or around them Krishna's name is going on. So the place is like a Vaikuntha anyway.
Okay. Thanks, Prabhuji.
Okay. Thanks a lot. Okay, you all have a wonderful Saturday. Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
Thank you.